What do we want?
Heads!
And where do we want them?
On sticks!
What?
Heads!
Where?
On sticks!
What?
Heads!
Where?
On sticks!
Fine, just give the man what he wants.
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, we did it! We finally get a look at the weapon tree, and the first monster weapon they show on said tree is a classic head on a stick, and you know what, I feel a lot of happiness seeing this. I may consider myself a hunting horn main for Rise, but Hammer will always be my close second, as I truly am a blunt boy overall. Oh, I guess also in other news, for people who care less about heads on sticks, we have confirmation that decorations in Monster Hunter Rise will once again be craftable like pre-5th generation Monster Hunter games, and we learned this from an interview that RX had with some directors of the game.
See? You see? I called it! I knew it! I knew it! I knew this probably really obvious thing that a lot of other people worked out too, but I called it! Like last week! God, this is such a good change. I'm so happy. It's so much better this way. Okay, carry on.
And, well, the only real thing to say is, hell yeah! Woo-wee! Oh man, those of you who have played Monster Hunter games before World know that farming an RNG charm is way less taxing and annoying for your build than farming RNG decorations. And those of you who have only played Monster Hunter in the New World are going to get to enjoy a new kind of beauty. We don't necessarily have confirmation that charms, or as they will be referred to in this game, talismans, will necessarily be an RNG system, though it is quite reasonable to assume as such given the history of Monster Hunter being one of either talismans or decorations was RNG, and we know for a fact that decorations are not RNG this time around now. So celebrate the fact that your set will at most be missing a skill or two, probably because of RNG grinding, rather than in Iceborne where you needed a ridiculous amount of decorations to really get the best out of your armor. Seriously, this is just wonderful. I cannot wait. And in similar equipment-based news, we had a couple sections of the Village Tour from IGN released today that showed off some Smithy and Smithy Body menus and sub-menus, and as usual, that leads us to some slightly juicy new information. First things first, decorations seem to work the way that they did in Monster Hunter World. 1 to 3 slots for decorations per armor piece, and each decoration slot has a level in itself from 1 to 3 that we've seen so far. Past this, we have a really staggering realization that not only are there no gunner sets like 4th gen and prior Monster Hunter games, but there is no alpha and beta sets like there was in World or Iceborne either. What we have here is just one armor set per monster, and it gives the skills that it gives and has the slots that it has. This is so interesting to me, and it's a pretty big deal in some specific ways as well. Firstly, this means that we have half as many visual options. My love of the difference between Blade Master and Gunner sets, or alpha and beta sets in World and Iceborne, was that it always gave us a secondary vision of what the design team thought that this monster's armor could look like. It may not have had too much of difference with lower tier monsters, but especially with things like Elder Dragons, the differences between these different types of armor were really awesome to see, but from what we can see so far, these are gone. I suppose this does also simplify set building quite a bit for newer players, so there definitely are positives to this way of doing it. Sometimes you gotta just go with the motion of the ocean in your potion. Oh, what an ocean. I'll stop doing this if you can all just agree to be open-minded about the armor, okay? Okay, sweet. Moving on then, weapon crafting and upgrading is now done in the same area of the menus. As opposed to all prior games where it is a separate menu, you have to back out after you forge it to upgrade it. In this one, you just have to swap tabs from the weapon tree to upgrade what you've got. It may not make much of a difference to many people, but as somebody who loves to craft tons and tons of weapons for endgame sets, it'll definitely be something that I appreciate later in the cycle of the game. As well, the weapon tree is now the default screen under Forge Weapon, as opposed to the weapon list, which used to be the default. I can understand this, given it's just easier to follow the path of progression for your weapon through the tree than it is through the list. Back over to the armor then, we see a glimpse of something called Chaos Armor, which is based around, apparently, mushrooms. More specifically, a new mushroom I don't believe we've seen before called a Mount Shroom. I can only assume that this will be used in crafting some sort of item that affects wyvern riding, but we'll have to see the truth of this later in the full game. What I find most interesting about this, however, is that it is called Chaos Armor, and veterans of the series may recognize that name as the armor for a certain chaotic Gore Magala, the Gore Magala variant. This is definitely not that armor, both based on the super low rarity of the armor and the fact that it's made with mushrooms. Just an interesting overlap in names I feel like pointing out. A potentially unintentional or potentially intentional reference to a fan favorite monster in the series.
Coincidence? I think not!
Past this, we know from the Capcom website itself that if you equip 3 or more armor pieces from the same set, you receive a bonus to all of your resistance stats. Otherwise, skills seem to very much work like World and Iceborne. From the screen, we can also see a special crafting menu for armor, which could be a couple of different things. Firstly, we know that the Rampage quest will give us unique materials that you can't get from other places, so maybe the special menu encompasses that sort of thing. Or alternatively, even, this could be the home of layered armor in Monster Hunter Rise. We see when they visit the Buddy Smithy that there is a straight up Forge Buddy layered option, but that doesn't exist at the Hunter Smithy, so maybe it's hidden away in this menu over here, or maybe it's even something more ominous than that. Who knows what this could truly be hiding, but be aware that it's there. We also know that the Khezu armor has health recovery amount up level 1, wall running level 2, heal speed level 2, thunder attack level 1, focus level 1, and slugger level 1, which if you break down into a pure number is 8 ranks of skills, not counting that some of those skills are considered higher value to the game than others. This is low rank armor. More specifically, this is rarity 2 low rank armor. This is almost the bottom of the power ladder, yet there are 8 ranks of skills on this armor. It's going to be very interesting to see how the balance of this game develops if there's this many skills on lower rank armor. It's entirely possible that we'll have so many skill slots in the end game that we will have unparalleled control over our hunting experience compared to previous games. The more skills we can have, the more customization we have over our experience. So I, for one, am quite intrigued as to how this will continue on. Moving away from human stuff and onto cuter creatures. Okay, fine, you're cute too, I'm sorry. The smithy is raining cats and dogs equipment. And while we do already know that the equipment for your buddies will once again be made by monster scraps rather than straight up materials as they were in World and Iceborne, one interesting note is that the Jaggy scrap specifically mentions being part of a Great Jaggy, which could imply the existence of Great Jaggy in Rise. However, in Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, there was an item called Great Jaggy Scrap that came from crafting small monster Jaggy armor, so that could very well be happening here too. It's hard to say for sure at this specific moment in time. And then also for this menu, even though in this tour they swap from Palico equipment to Palamute equipment by totally backing out of the menu and going in another place, it looks like at the top of the screen you can just press the minus button to swap between Cato and Doggo equipment in a jiffy. It's just really nice and convenient. An interesting note here is that they said in a prior interview, material costs to make equipment would be lower, and it appears that they are quite a bit lower compared to 4th gen and prior Monster Hunter games, but more or less in line with Iceborne crafting material requirements from what we've seen so far, which is still quite reasonable, especially in a world without alpha and beta or gunner sets. Realistically, it looks like they just want the game as a whole to be easier to understand and more accessible to people who haven't played Monster Hunter before. And as usual, my opinion on that is positive. I want more people to be playing this series. It's a fantastic series. The more people can get into it, the better. Though, honestly, I would probably say that about nearly anything that they say about the game at this point. I know so little about the actual new monsters and mechanics, and I'm just really agonizingly excited about the game and just cannot wait to get my hands on it. Alright, everyone, this has been a big old rush of news pertaining to the equipment you'll be using in Rise and the system surrounding said equipment. Are you intrigued by the changes like I am, or did you prefer the way that it used to be? Or, hidden option C, who cares? I just want to slap a big fun monster with a big fun weapon. No matter what, the time is soon, everyone. The time is soon. Like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.